Welcome back. Got an exciting episode. I've been looking around the area of Sagewall, Tizer Dolmen, especially through Wandering Wolf's videos. Many thanks. I know I'm kind of a pain in the ass in some ways. I just won't shut up to people. Rude, other things. But besides the point, part of me, I'm got some things popping out that really need to be discussed right now. So instead of talking about ammonites as I was planning, I switch gears. I'm looking around through this, and especially so today, Incredible History on Twitter posted some things that I responded to. So maybe I'll just find that. So he posted this video. Awesome video, by the way. He did another one an hour long with a geologist. I thought it was just like incredible. Really, the guy really knew his stuff. I think it's come to my attention that the classed interpretation was false. I thought everything was true. I took his word for it on the class, but I think that was just a first guess. But now that I've looked at it, I see more nuance to that aspect of it, the nubs. So there's nubs, and then in this video, there's this like missing chunk that's kind of square like, has a slope to it, and then it's connected through to this thing over here, reminiscent of this thing in Egypt. So the theory that this is a man-made place has certainly like reasonings, like things like this. But I responded, and I'm like, this isn't shallograms. It's very relevant. Shallograms are extremely relevant to this topic. They are believed to contain fossils, but they are actually etched by current flows. And then I just showed some shallograms. So like this one, it doesn't really conjoin in this instance, but there is another structure over here. Also, this has like slope to it even, which is interesting. This one, just for the way there's like divides that happen, parallel cracks forming from currents. This one has more so like that shape conjoined essentially to over here. So this one's kind of similar. It also conjoins over there, probably connects all the way through these ones. So stuff like that. Here's another one that really shows the conjoining, the current going from this one into this region, or vice versa, probably from this one to this one though, like an overflow, and then etching over into here as well. And this kind of has maybe even a relatively sloped rectangular thing going on. Certainly not identical, but close enough to be aware of. And then this one, some other ones where these are like this chakra points at this chakra. This boundary is like the same as this boundary. This boundary is pretty similar to this boundary to that boundary. This boundary to this boundary to this boundary. Like, it's not like fossils are doing this. Currents are doing this. That's why they're like boundaries matter. This one I thought was more interesting maybe from a nub standpoint, but just conjoining currents in some regard. Maybe not the best picture to have included. This one conjoins like this ammonite literally connects. So we can see it wraps around here, has a like nucleus, a chakra like over here, kind of structure going on, forming, not so defined, but then connects literally into there, where this one connects over to this one connects over to this. So there's an actual threading of the current. This connects generally to this one, connects from here down here, which connects to the end of this one. So there's things of that nature going on. And so that was in regard to this, but I wanted to mention in regard to the nubs, so I took a picture of the nubs. I tried to find a good image. Initially, this is all I found was the video. I link it in this image here. I'm going to link all these videos also. But since then, I've found more pictures of this spot, so we're going to go through a bunch of pictures. That's the plan, but we're starting here, so let's just check it out. I drew some lines, so if we go back and forth, I'll just click back and forth, and we can look at this green one here. So I'm generally drawing, like we can especially see it here, maybe there, and just generally across here. Maybe it's not exactly, this is kind of a rough draft. If we consider one there, like it goes below the nubs, across and below, and then maybe there's one there like relatively above it that's going above here, possibly like above and below, and maybe pinching even like over here. Maybe in those locations are like the same thing happening, just it's spread out more. Something, but then over here, this current, which is what I'm interpreting. All these are current flows, so let me actually click this again. So we got this green one going across, but then this one going across here, which basically goes to this nub. So we're seeing cross currents in that area, which is a good sign that it's current induced. The nubs are. So let's take that away again. There's also one there. We're going to look at more at this region. There, above it, more exactly above it, right there. Stuff over here we can see throughout, just lines. So let's just go ahead and highlight this stuff. Like this one, we can see this one. I really tried not to draw anything that wasn't like reasonably there, especially in combination with like this over here, and then it looks like maybe through here, over here, and wrapping around entirely. So that's what that is. And then up here we can see, well, if we use this as a boundary, and up here we see something going off this way, and up over here like a straight line, and then we can kind of see things going across to this way, across at different levels. One here generally, one up here maybe, and then generally things going also across current this way, and some of it, and at least so that's generally what's going on here. And we got a hexagon here, which is really relevant. Like there's a hexagon there, we can see it, hexagon. Like hexagons are current induced. It even has a cross divide thing, making this side much more dark and this side patchy. This circle here, this stuff going on here, I didn't draw this very well, this color, but the wall has it. We can also see like maybe wrapping around here generally. So definitely there's currents in the wall. So that's really got me. And then this is the end of this picture. So let's just go to the pictures without getting too caught up on this one, because I have a lot of pictures I took that I saw a lot of like useful things to point out. Maybe not every picture is equal in that regard, but so this thing, I tried to just take pictures. Maybe the walkthrough might have the best pictures, but we can generally see like a circular structure here, suggestive of some kind of current. Current probably just got lodged in here and ended up scooping, but let's keep going before I get too caught up on the ones before the walkthrough. Like this is another scoop, but we can see lines in it very distinctly, like bending and up. We'll see it more in other pictures. Also above it maybe is relevant to it. I think that's behind it, like a different rock. I don't know if every instance what I'm about to say that I bring it up, it actually applies or not. I understand that I'm just like looking from angles, but if you're looking at the certain structures from certain angles relative to other rocks, the structure in the distant thing appears to be related to the closer rock, the distant rock and closer rock. Like I'll bring some examples up. So maybe in this instance, like something up there is actually related to the boundary in this rock as well. So whatever's going on up there is also shaping this boundary here, maybe. Just a thought. This one's not really, probably not in this case, honestly, but there's other ones that are way more pronounced. Actually, I was having that thought here. We can definitely see some kind of circular thing going on there. This is where those nubs are back there. So way more scale now, but we can still see currents back there involved. For sure something going on, like generally that way. And so it's probably generally going this way and generally going this way. And that interaction leads to these mountains. Also, notice there's another one in white here that we'll get better images of as we go forward. Possibly it goes up that way too, like wraps around that way into those. Possibly. So this the way this goes and then over and this way, like it makes me think it's related to this rock shape, or vice versa. Another just scooping location, but it's like near the ground. Okay, and this is a different video. This is from his travel vlog videos, 2 of them. So I think I have like 4 or 5 of his videos and that I went through today looking for images. So in short, we see a divide here that's much more just like natural looking. So that's why I took that picture. This back here, we can see like a chakra and like a shalogram structure. Anyone who doesn't know, definitely need to check out my shalogram videos if you're really interested in what I'm talking about when it comes to shalograms. I have like at least 100 hours of just analyzing shalograms and comparing it to like larger structures. But like 50 hours of literally just shalograms, literally just like the current flows present here based on the structure outcome, and like really piecing together the possibilities and like proving they're not fossils. So it's very important that they're not fossils. So back to this. Let me see if I can find one that has a good chakra. Like, not within. Like, this is within. Within. Some of them are literally at the boundary of the rock. So let's try to find one of those for reference. Like this one reaches the boundary, but it's not really what I'm referring to. There's probably I just have so many images. It's hard to know where certain things are without grouping them again. I have grouped a bunch of them. There's a hexagon, so that's worth noting. Like, hexagon in there too. Kind of something maybe going on there. Even here, relatively. Some degree of hexagon going on. And just the way all of this type of thing is going on is because of the currents. So when we look at the sage wall area, these same features are present. It's very shallogram-like features throughout the area. Nothing like etching in completely. Maybe more of this nature. Although this is broken. That one's broken, so it doesn't even really capture it. Here's one that actually has the chakra at the boundary. So it's much more like it. It's just imagine this didn't get etched out, this didn't get etched out. It just began to do so. then we would be looking at something much more like this. My thought is this rock here is much harder. In the case of shallograms, the rock itself is being shaped by the currents. Like the grains within the shallogram are in flow. Weird. I hope my hard drive's not full. What just happened? The grains within the shallogram are in flow, and that's not really going on in the case of Sage Wall. It's more so like exhumation, like I think his name was Stuart Parker, suggested in Incredible Histories videos. Exhumation, but then when it was exposed, it was also exposed to the flood waters of the literal flood, which this place I'm going to go into why it really appears to be evidence thereof. So let's go back here. So there's that. Just taking pictures along the way. Something of that nature is notable. I wonder if this crack maybe is related to like where that is from a shallogram standpoint. Things of that nature can happen, and this crack is probably related to over there. We're going to be looking for things of that nature going across rocks to see how they relate to each other in places where it may not be as immediately apparent. So here's a nub. This has some, I didn't really look at this image, I just took it. It has some kind of maybe shallogram lobe type structure there. And then almost like an ammonite back here, like a piece of an ammonite. I don't know what to make of this without more around it. It does look over here like if this maybe is flowing around it, generally wrapping around it and going straight over here. So here's Tizer Dolmen. Notice this crack changes. I don't know what to make of it. I'm just talking at this point in some cases. We're gonna get to some things that are just really telling though. I just took a lot of pictures. That's kind of shallogram teeth like up there. I don't know why it would be, but can definitely see some up, down. Maybe some wrapping around there, like up this way as well. These are interacting currents. Like it's not just like a river flow that's just going in one direction. Like it's many currents up, down, back, forward, left, right, twirling, all sorts of things exploding from the pressure. Like maybe not here particularly, but that's a thing that can happen just by like an eddy bringing in so much that it just like pop like a supernova, just a different scale, literally. So this is an image of 3 different angles that he put together of Tizer Dolmen. So this is the backside. The backside is way more revealing. It's also uphill. This side in the middle is facing uphill. This is the right side is facing downhill. Let me check myself out here. I'm over here. Okay. That's fine. That's probably small enough to not be completely in the way. Hopefully I don't block anything. Sorry if I like talk as if you can see and I'm blocking it, but at any point. We'll get to Tizer Dolmen's backside a little more and some other images probably a little better. Specifically this. Things of this nature, like the way this is wrapping around there. Definitely some fractures up that are like this, but are like in the rock itself. This alone points to geological processes. I believe there's some up-down type striations as well beyond that, although it's not like everywhere, but just like visible around here. Something's going on this side. This side maybe has some kind of like a node that has a ring around it, maybe, possibly behind this rock. Like that rock looks like it could have just got pushed there by water and been lodged there for thousands of years. That'd be crazy. If that little rock has just been sitting like that. Definitely can see like a degree of layers, so it, whatever this current went through, it went through a layer and relieve the pressure behind by going through this layer without having to go through the rest of it. And then it went through a layer over here, a layer over here. The material adjacent is gone, or maybe somewhere around in the area. I don't know if I saw anything that looked like it was from adjacent, but definitely has signs here. We're gonna find some more stuff, I swear. This probably, I would say that points to current flow passing through. The way it's more, it's almost like a channel. It's physically able to etch in here because it's like flowing in a channel and just etching around the corner and etch the corner here to get through. Which definitely as I look through this, it's flowing downhill, over this hill and down. So whatever's behind this, like looking the opposite way than this camera, is the way the water was flowing from. I don't know what that direction is in terms of north, south, east, west, east, west. My guess would be either north or northwest, going southeast or south. Looks like possibly some kind of circular thing going on there too. Even more etching in this region, more in this region, maybe because of the presence of another, like, relatively different, like, rock on top of it that maybe protrudes a bit, that encouraged the current to go down and just etched more so here. I don't know. It also, like, here's a good instance of what I was just saying, though, where there's a relationship between adjacent rocks. Here we go. Right here. This little thing up this way. Like, why would it do that? Well, just erosion after they was laid. But we'll keep finding things of that nature that aren't like on top of each other, that are actually from current flows, like this way. Like imagine there's Tizer Dolmen and a rock, a big boulder next to it. And then there's a flow that runs into the boulder and ramps off into Tizer Dolmen. That's what happened. We're gonna find that out. Right here, like, why is this not eroded as much as up here? And then there's this upslope, like there's a rock hanging out in the way, and this current ramps up and hits largely above this line, less below with force. Like there's something else absorbing the momentum of this flow so that it doesn't erode as much down here. Also, like here, this one's a good one. Like this right here, this rock, not part of Tizer Dolmen, and yet its shape extends into it up here and around. and probably further, but certainly there, which would indicate it was doing the same thing. Water was hitting it and splashing around to a radius or a distance, like relative to its shape. So it took its shape, hit it, splashed off it, took its shape, and then hit Tizer Dolmen. And just the region where it didn't hit was less influenced by the currents because the current off of this rock was splashing up and producing a boundary that reduced the pressure on this region of the rock. That's one of the better examples I found, but not the only example. Then this, again, like chakra is low, and there's definitely, we're going to see more pictures. I'm trying to think if anything, it's a little close to really draw any conclusions from it. Interesting, this almost like eyebrow above the eyebrow in a row over here, maybe related to the nub. There's also this nub adjacent to that. Like if we're looking at it this angle along the chakras, at this boundary over is where this structure is, and this boundary over, generally speaking, there's like a little protrusion. It's maybe not completely nub-like, but it is protruding, and like we can see its shadow is definitely related to this, and maybe even over here, this white spot. And then again, if we do the same up this way, like from this one, and just go up, maybe over this way too, like out of this eyebrow, up that way to this nub, eyebrow over nub, coupled with maybe some other current like over here that this thing's holding a boundary of that generally goes to there. And maybe some others that I'm not immediately picking up on. Possibly something coming across like this spot, across here, and like creating this space generally and going and interacting in this location. I don't know. It's hard to say in this case. Here's what I was saying though. See, there's this huge boulder, and it just so happens to be like as if water went off of it and into this region up above here. I know it's not quite taking its shape, like over here is kind of even weirdly angled. Like I don't know exactly what to make of it. Possibly the water coming more from like a little further, like closer to these boulders in the back and towards this, so it didn't protect as high on this side. Something of that nature, maybe. So here's that other nub. It's not really a nub, but it's clearly like related. It's also not quite in the same line, but it's still clearly related. Maybe even another pseudo type thing over there, right there. Essentially, these are locations where adjacent and nearby currents effectively blocked one another from etching. Like a current going across this way cause a current going across this way to like bend over this way and go around it, maybe something of that nature, where this one goes to the far side and holds that boundary, so it like pushes that current into the boundary, but it isn't able to etch in. Like circumstances lead to these things where it's just not etching into them, creating mounds. instead. Maybe, I'm not sure if this was all solid at the time, like fully solid, I imagine, because it's probably truly exhumed from the earth, that it was relatively solid and just being worked by the water, causing like pass through it from the pressure and atop its surface from the pressure, but not shaping its particles within. Like, the particles are not in flow. In a shallogram, the particles themselves are in flow when it's being formed, but still the same process is happening where a current is flowing on its surface. It's just, it's not subtle fine-grained particles that are being compacted into a rock and then shaped by the process. This is already shaped and or formed, and then it's just being shaped. Etch, and this also fans out. It's not just this, it goes across here and fans out. Possibly even continues across generally over there. I don't know. Maybe over there as well. Something to do with over there, maybe. It continues a bit over there. Possibly with surroundings in some way also. This one's from Julie Ryder's channel, Montana Megaliths. I do have a few from this channel. I thought this just made me think of the like chambers of a shallogram. Like if I go to, I think it's around here. Sooner or later I'll just be able to show you these things. Kind of like these things, like chambers standing next to one another in a relatively, like it's relatively got a shape, rounded at the top, kind of like it could be part of an ammonite if these just continued and spiraled. Not saying that it was, just that it perhaps was part of a structure of an ammonite-like nature, like maybe like a baculite, like a straight one, rather than a wrapping around one kind of thing, where it just formed these. And also that makes me think of maybe here, related rock formations from Myron Cook's videos, these things, where they're divided into chunks like this. This is natural. This is not a tree or anything. It's literally formed geologically. So this makes me think of that, pretty much. Something of that nature going on with these things. Okay, back to this one. I think this is the same place. That looks like the two eyebrow things over there, so it's probably the same place. Definitely is. Okay. This one's a little better at seeing, like, a line here. Right this boundary. Up here. Also, this has like an outer ring here that perhaps goes over here. Maybe the same over here. Looks like maybe, I think I was saying like it looks like a current's going this way. It looks like it might actually have gone out over that way too. Across that way in like a chain of circular features. Something going on out that way. Not sure if I see it as much, but it does look like there's a pretty big circle there too. Smaller circles there. This one just reminded me of this, just not formed as much. Although it's dark and I mean, it looks etched in. It looks like it's going in, depressed into the rock. So even though it's dark, dark to me is less etched just based on what I've seen in this place, but it's very dark. So maybe it's something else that's being deposited while it's etching. It also has this dark material and a fine grain enough that it's in the water and being pressed into the porosity of the wall to like create this darker location. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this goes in far or is like physically largely found at the surface. Maybe trying to find some good image of this, so I just kept taking pictures. Kept taking pictures of this. Definitely could see some. This is a pretty good one. Like around here, around here, around here, up there. Some stuff going on over there. Still can see that hexagon there. Like across that way, down there, over there, there. Possibly something off of it there. Also, I noticed maybe one here, I believe, somewhere around it. I thought there might have been another one with like a nucleus there. Maybe. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. That looks kind of pentagon, but like the hexagon. Like this hexagon, if it were to have a nucleus at the center, that's more clear. I don't know if this one really does have a feature like that. This kind of makes me think of that. I don't know. This, though, right here, it looks like an ammonite shape. Like a figure eight. It's incredible. It definitely is current flow induced. Only currents can do this. Not just like... And not just slow and steady across time. It needs to be a current that is continuously, like, doing that. Like, if it's just raining, it's not going to do that. It's just not going to do that. I think this is... this is... We're now into the walkthrough of the area. I took a bunch of pictures. We're walking there, so we're not quite to it yet. Just taking pictures of the surroundings, really. These types of things are definitely of interest throughout. Looks like maybe over there on this rock is some of that subtly. Now we're approaching it. Notice over here there's something going on under that rock, which is kind of interesting. Like flow went under and out here somehow. Something happened where water went underneath this and just created this like space. I didn't even bother to look at these pictures for like adjacent. Like maybe this is from next to it. That's why that space is there. I don't know. Up here, this is cool. So then there's like right here. This line, generally speaking, I know it kind of angles up, but like is seemingly related to where the Tizer Dolmen like wraps around, so like it's relatively at the same angle as up here. This also just looks like a miniature one and then a miniature one, and this actually looks like it has a relatively similar angle to the like it was a big V shape. A chain, so whatever's in between was probably similar too and toppled, I guess. Like there must have been another larger one that was like this. Trapezoid, is that the shape? Like this one, just bigger. I feel like that's the right word. I'm not gonna bother to look it up because I think that's the right word. Definitely a little notch thing going on there of interest. This is that one that was toppled. There's that opening there. Here. Definitely got some layers. The layers are going this way. So, like, that kind of fits Tizer Dolmen, which is going, like, if it were to be standing, then the layers would be going perpendicular to the ground, which is what Tizer Dolmen is doing. So, maybe this was the back piece behind it and not next to it. This, like, here's another example. Crack over here, crack over here. Like they're in line with one another, but there's this gap. It doesn't look like they're necessarily like always were adjacent to one another either. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. So like it's possible something gets deposited in its location and then they interact with one another when they weren't adjacent before that deposition. So like this fell over, this was here, this current went this way. Looks like right here also goes over here to like a crack that way. Generally, this goes that way. Definitely relationship. This is real cool. Whatever's going on with this, it's like holding it in. Just holding the Tizer Dolmen structure with this little extension off of its base. There's the ramp rock, I guess. I don't know if that's it or not. So whatever was behind it, I don't know how it got around it. Maybe it just fell over here even. I don't know. Have to look around to only be able to go places. This one goes relatively in relationship to that. I don't know if they're actually like adjacent though. Like at a different angle, it may not look like they're related, but it may be that they are related. Just like a certain like plane in which current was especially flowing, kind of like between the dolmen itself in that plane. Like whatever's coming out of that is flowing much higher velocity than what's coming out like adjacent, like the region between over here. Like water's flowing in there and going, but it's not flowing at the velocity that like the gap between Tizer Dolmen allows for, and like that's probably happening all over the place, involving and making these fracture lines. Participating in it, I don't know if it's always that case. Something of that nature definitely happens where there's like focal points in overall currents, like a current, but a main conduit, like a spine that the current takes with the most strength, which maybe is related to something of Tizer Dolmen nature fundamentally on a fractal scale somewhere down the line of things. These here's those notches, but we can really see the shallogram shapes, and even up here right above it is a relatively similar shape, like it was doing it there too. Above it, this location, like it's highly similar to the way this is pointy, and pointy like a, I don't know what this shape is called, an eye, I guess, like an eye. this little... just checking stuff out, I think actually that one... I was thinking whatever's going on here, like, interacts with this, and maybe this causes it water flowing in this region to like funnel in here and etch into this rock. I don't know why this one would be able to like induce that by water flowing down there without this one getting just shoved out of the way. Maybe it's held in position pretty good. Something of that nature might be going on though. Some features here, some features. Something coming through there. Little gap. Like water is flowing through there towards the camera. Just like a jet stream. Roundedness there, roundedness around it. I don't know what to make of it exactly. Roundedness. This one looks like it might have been capable of splitting like another one we see sooner or later. This one maybe did split. Maybe a lot of this stuff is split like here from another half. This right here definitely split. This half and this half were one. Forget what it's called. Devil's Australia. What is it called? Devil's Rock. Yeah, this one. Devil's Marbles. Very much like this one. Even the angle is pretty much identical looking. Here's another instance where there's a rock and then another rock that I don't think are conjoined. I don't think they're... it's hard to say. This might be connected, actually. But if it's not, where there's this thing, and it goes down and just continues through this one. Like, if there's a stress in a rock, it shouldn't induce a stress along the same path in an adjacent rock. Just, like, to the frequency that happens here, unless the stress in the rock is related to a current flow that continues across more boundaries. Some kind of circular thing there with some chamber looking ammonite type chambers. I don't know. Not saying that's ammonite like to like a full degree, just subtly. The way this goes up to there, that probably looked like this went to here. I don't know if they would have been like straight across though. This looks sliced in a similar way. I mean, it must be happening pretty regularly anytime there's something of that nature. This perhaps started more like Tizer Dolmen, whereas more like squared off. That like Stuart Parker's interview with Incredible History. I don't know his name, pardon me. Basically was saying that like they start off more blocky and then erosion can make them more spherical, rounded. So this definitely had that happen, but it also divided. The physics, guys. I feel like I could see some chakras there. With like a lobe out there and lobe out there. Relatively shallogram-esque, I don't know. I don't remember some of these pictures, what I even saw in them. Maybe over here. Chakra, lobe. I don't know. Maybe a rounded thing there, rounded. Which reminds me of Damn It Arcund. Definitely worth watching. It doesn't matter who you are, it is worth watching my Damn It Arcund videos. Oh my god. They are... This place is incredible. Just incredible. I cannot stress enough how incredible Damn It Arcund is. Not sure if I can find what I'm thinking of. I'm just thinking maybe here. No. No. It's by the ramp. This might have it. Here we go. Where there's a ring in this. This is a hill and then a river. And then a mountain on the opposite side of the river. Where a current flow went up this hill. Lots of current was here. An incredible amount of current was here, etching this terrain just like there. And in this case, it literally went in circles as it went, like a coiling current, and put out tendrils like fingers that pressed against the far wall here as the overall current physically bent in a circle. So there's all these like circles on the wall from it putting out these tendrils, but this one especially goes across the hill. So it like put out a tendril, but the bottom of it hit the hill, and then the top of it kept going, and the top of it hit the opposite side of the mountains over there, like 100 kilometers away, or 100 meters, or some, not kilometers, 100, like not immediately adjacent, indicating that the flow didn't care, that it didn't have a support structure. It had so much velocity. I mean, it had a support structure of other water, but it could have just like dropped into it and pushed out the boundaries of the water, theoretically, if there was not enough pressure. But because there's so much pressure, it didn't do that. It just continued in a straight path with this like putting out pressure points so that current behind it could wrap around while it did that. Like, it just puts out these fingers, it wraps around. So, point being, there's probably smaller scale things of that nature happening in places like that. Which then even created chakras. So if we go to this shalogram somewhere, I'll find it. I know it's around here. Right. Might have passed it. I must have passed it. Nope, maybe not. Oh, okay, here's one of them. This one has a current going into it, and there's chakras in there, so it's got this current wrapping around and going in, penetrating into the rock, and creating this chakra system of an ammonite, creating the ammonite by the current going in. Another one hits more like at an angle though, and it bends in the rock and creates a outlet channel, and just a chakra, but it's very clear that that's what happened compared to the other ones. I thought it was near that first one, but it must be further. Can't believe this mouse is already having issues. I would really like to find it. It's from these guys. Okay, I think we're coming up on it. It's gotta be. I must have missed it. Oh my god. I would say just skip forward. I'm gonna find this. It's so... Unless you want to just watch and check out the holograms as we go. Because they're sweet. I feel like I passed it already. Maybe not, maybe not. It's from these... I think they have similar images here. I'll check their page, but they sold it already. Alright, maybe I will give up. Oh my god, it's so cool though. Do a fast run through. It's not there. I feel like it's after that one. Maybe I put it up there. Okay, there's that one. There it is. There it is. I should have just looked here. Where it came in over here, and then it basically ran into resistance, but it came at an angle. So had it just came straight into resistance, it would have just swirled, but because it came at an angle, it bounced off and went out. So it etched in, created chakras, bounced off the resistance and went out over here, differentiating material as well as pulling out some material and shaping it and making the boundary here and just doing this to the rock. This reminds me of this with this circle there. Just it's running into a much harder rock, so it's not able to really do it of this nature. Okay. It's getting late, huh? This one, okay, that's... It does look like it might be... It could be either separate or the same rock. It's so hard to tell. If it's not the same, it's very much like leaning against it, I guess. Looks, if this is it, oh, I don't think that's it. Lots of little things going on here. Something up there. Like the position of this relative to these things, to this thing. Like 3 paths. 1, 2, 3. Where this one specifically goes above, this one goes maybe below and underneath. And this one goes to the side. Encasing this location here generally, maybe by naturally forming a more circular structure as well. Overall, like that's a good example of a nub being formed by 3 currents or more, possibly another something going on there. I don't know. Like related to this and up that way, I don't know. Cool picture, cool stuff back there. I can't remember anything particular here. Nothing particular here. Just... That looks like an ammonite, the end of an ammonite. I wonder what the rest of this rock looks like. If it has a pseudo-nucleus anywhere. And any sign of spiraling. Possibly some spiraling thing over here. That's really far. But like there, it looks more like it goes like that though. Like a cross. Something down there too, down there. Some more circle type features over there. Some other shapes. There's the nubs and there's that thing. We also see something down here. I didn't notice this before, this like ring. Definitely can see the paths, and then it almost like runs into resistance and just creates like little pools, circle eddies off or something. Definitely something up there. You see that go over that way. Something there. This and this are kind of like positive, negative across the separator spot. That almost has like a energetic relationship in some way. Possibly because this is the last nub and this is the next nub, maybe. But it just didn't form. Something of that nature, perhaps. Like, perhaps it could form. I feel like it's not depositing so much as etching. Where this would imply like subsequent deposition. Maybe it's depositing in some ways when it slows down, and maybe it's slowed down here like the eye of a storm, but it was still like held against the rock by the overall pressures, and material was able to just get like deposited in that location. We're gonna find some other like white. Notice this is white. We're gonna run into another location that I really think exhibits a like as it drains, the water begins to slow down, and in so doing, the particles within it that can be deposited become smaller. Like at a high velocity, the only particles that can resist the currents are big, like huge boulder kind of things, or even larger systems, like huge systems at enough of a velocity, not with enough energy, basically. But as that energy drops, then it slows down and things can drop out that were smaller and smaller and smaller. And then maybe as the water really recedes, it begins to deposit layers in certain locations. But in this instance, maybe it was actually just like the eye of the storm of the next one of the nubs being formed. There's also a circle across this. That's interesting. Maybe the way somewhere around here relating to like the bottom. I don't know. It's definitely going up this way generally. Cross current. Down into here. Across. Okay, I should probably stop soon. I'm just gonna kind of speed through these. This one's like divided down the middle. That's like that rock. That rock we were just looking at did pretty much the same thing. Just fractally so. Maybe this is showing how they form then. Definitely some layering around this one. Also relatively a divide down this middle, this direction. Also, looks like little like aspects of it. Little circles on the side of it. This one's got a small circle there. This one actually looks like it's got a circle there too. And then again, some kind of core nucleus type structure. Come down. Across, like across this way does look related over here to this. As this goes down, it pretty much goes to there. And then it runs into resistance, I guess. Whatever's flowing here probably is transporting some material through the porosity of the granite. It's bringing like fine grain materials through. And maybe running into resistance over here and making these spots. Maybe even like doing so here as well, but then just bringing more material through that is more able to be like granite and not whatever these spots are. I don't know if these spots are some kind of fine grained material within it. That would be my guess, is it's a little more fine grained. It was able to pass through like the porosity of the rock to be deposited in certain locations. This is interesting over here. It's relatively chakra-like right there. I don't know. Shalogram-like, relatively. Some white stuff. This is cool. Okay, this one's really, really cool. We'll get back to it. It's gonna come up again. Okay. Notice, this goes this way. And then it continues. I mean, we can't see it over here, obviously, but it continues right there. Continues. And then it goes also this way from right here. This way. But like starting right there over there. So there's this path and then this gap and then this path and then this gap and then this path. That's the bending of a current. That's what a bending current does. It can do, at least. So like that to me is a strong piece of evidence that this was formed by a bending current. Also, there's probably more nuance, like down to that one. I mean, this is very incredible. It's incredible that it did this, but that doesn't mean it's man-made. It's much, honestly, it's much cooler. Like, this place probably reveals why there are man-made nubs. Like, why there are man-made other things, why they did the things they did, because they were mimicking the processes that are like playing out here to create environments that then, my guess, influence not like air or water, but like ether, prana, subtle energy, as if it were having like massive deluges atop of it, so that like the prana, the energy, is being influenced by the shapes of where these nubs are, like all these things that are just where the cracks are. Like they organize the cracks in ways that probably are to propagate the energy in certain channels, to interact in certain ways. All sorts of things that this place probably sheds a ton of light on, where they knew things of this nature and were able to deduce how to create man-made megaliths like in a useful way from the understanding that they gleaned from things of this nature. Like this has like a circle here with rings around it, kind of almost looking like a flame on the candle. I don't know. It's definitely like things of that nature really need inspected closely. Looks like we can still see generally somewhere around here, maybe two of them, one there, centers that maybe it's hard to see in this picture, but have some kind of structure around it. The way this kind of divides is quite current-like. Now, broken. Can't remember exactly what I saw in this one. Just, I probably just thought it was cool and in case. Definitely features of note. All these rocks could be looked at, inspected, and intensely. This is cool. They're like two squares. I mean, it totally makes sense to interpret this man-made. It's just not. And that's how incredible like the nature of reality is, though. Like it really. This place is hugely significant. It's just not man-made. Hugely significant. It doesn't take away from its significance. It reminds me of Mount Girdnar, where, oh nice, he's got a new video. I saw it was coming out. Rocks melt during earthquake. Ugh. Your cliffs. I'm trying to find this one.
Ring of mountains and the central ridges, it looks very much like
I'm not sure if it's in this clip, actually.
I think for thousands of years this was regarded as like the center of heaven on earth. If God exists above, maybe he exists at the central point, at the non-moving point, the still point in the center of heaven. At night time, the stars are moving, but the one point is still. This point is, maybe you could consider this
I'll link this video too. Definitely worth listening. Mount Gurnar is amazing. But in essence, it's actually, no, this is not what I'm thinking of. It's Mather et al. The 1926 Mather et al. Gurnar. Something like that. The whatever this is my paper, so my article. He says in this article Gurnar Hills form an imposing and characteristic landmass in the plains of Kathiawar. Considerable importance attaches to them from a religious and archaeological point of view, and the shrines on the top of the hill are visited it's got like 1,000 temples almost, are visited by a large number of pilgrims every year. Geologically, the Gurnar Hills are no less important, yet so far little information exists about the interesting varieties of rocks they contain or the structure of the hill ranges. So, like, this is a hugely important religious location. So, it's got lots of importance for other reasons, but it's also, as Mather et al. Point out in 1926, aptly, is geologically no less important than like the sacredness of it religiously. Like the geology of it is just as sacred. Same for this place, where like it is an important location in terms of like it really opens our eyes to things in ways that other places just cannot. Maybe this has some little chambers of an ammonite looking bending to it, like there was some kind of eddy there, maybe relatively creating like spokes to a center point and like a string of chamber masses, something maybe. Again, some relationships between adjacent things. These are the square-looking ones. I swear I need to stop here soon. Here's one of those round. We can see the ripples like this way. That's so cool. But also they're going this way in other pictures. Like there's definitely cool features in that. I don't know exactly what to make of it. Generally, a current coming in that probably is held in location by pressures where they like push it. Whatever this current is, like it could have gone over here, but there's this huge rock in the way, so it just ends up etching into this and etching until it like lodges in and just etches in further and further. But it like by getting into the rock, it actually is literally like if the difference between putting my finger against like and sliding down and then doing the same with like an actual resistance down, like it gets held in location even though it's a current flowing like a stream. It's so under pressure that it becomes much more rigid, so it just like when it gets held into a position and it just continues there. That's my guess. Something of that nature happened. It's probably visible in the surroundings. Probably even related to whatever this is over on this rock. I wouldn't be surprised. Like it's kind of odd. I don't know if I've seen that type of thing going on elsewhere. If I saw it more on the other rocks, then it would make sense to not be related, but that's the only time I've seen it, so I'm just gonna guess it's some relationship. Okay, some other ones that are cool shapes. Let's keep going. Somewhere down the line, we're gonna find the ones with the white on them. There's that one again. Okay, here, this is it. So this one looks like it had a like puddling on top and like a flow going down this way. But then like it looks like this flow like ramped and went over here too. It didn't just like go down, just like drip down this rock. It looks like it physically was able to like go over to this one and get on top of it and deposit this material. As the water was slowing down, it was depositing this stuff on top of some of the rocks, I guess. That's my guess. And leaving like a stained layer that is still there in that way where it's cool, but it has this stripe and then this stripe over here. Like there's this huge gap why is there just a stripe here and a stripe here? Like, it's not over here, it's not here, it's not here, it's not here. It's literally like related to one another, yet apart from one another. Like, they're not adjacent truly. There's this huge gap. You could probably walk through this gap. So in order for whatever is going on over here to get over here, presumably that's what happened. It had to like have enough force. So even then, it had enough force to do that. That's my thoughts. While still like draining down material and also running into this side here, maybe. Like, it's just straight that color up there. Then another streak of that color there. Although it doesn't have it on that one. I was thinking maybe at some point this stuff starts to get down to the ground level and flow along the ground and like this location, like in these kind of places, to add some of the material in that way. So again, here's this ramp. We can even actually see maybe like a bend in this rock right around here, going down and then down. Maybe, I still don't see why it would have this immediate difference like that. But we can definitely, like, if you ramped off of this, wait, it would generally go over there like that. There's a relationship. Okay, guys. So that's what I have to add to this. I hope that made sense enough to be like, yeah, it's probably natural and it's awesome. Hopefully, especially the awesome part in terms of its natural aspects that I'm only scratching the surface of. Like, I have relatively like 1080 by 720 or whatever the screenshot's taken, like limited to the videos I can find. Certainly there's a room for much more nuanced analysis of these rough, coarse-grained details, but like these details are present in what's going on. Okay, I gotta get to bed. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Also, in case you were wondering, so the Earth expands.